What's up guys, my name is Mike Perret, and in this video we're testing out the Zhiyun Crane 2. I got the Nikon D850 on there, and the problem with the Nikons are they're not compatible with the Zhiyun Cranes as far as using the follow focus or any kind of camera controls, any kind of the settings or anything like that. Really can't control it with this. As far as the reason for that goes, I'm not sure whether it's Nikon or if it's Zhiyun. I've watched videos that say both, that have said either or, so I don't know. I'm not really worried about that though. It's either way I'm going to use it, and I'm going to show you guys some test footage of a motocross race I did for a buddy of mine, how the Zhiyun Crane did during that race, and then I'm also going to go down, I'm going to run with it, and I'm also going to do a hyperlapse using the Zhiyun Crane, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so now I'm back here at Tempe Beach Park. I just got done shooting that motocross race yesterday. You guys just saw the footage, and before I get into what I like and what I don't like about the Crane as far as that application goes, I'm going to set it up right now and I'm going to take a run. I'm going to run with the Crane. We're going to do some testing with how it looks when I'm running, when I'm walking, and just do a couple other things that I didn't get to do yesterday with it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run along. So I'm going to run along this little trail right here with the buildings, and I'm going to point the camera towards those buildings over here, and just going to test the footage, see how steady it is when I'm actually running. Well, I don't run for anybody, not even for YouTube, so I'm going to jog and see how steady this cam is, or see how steady the Zhiyun Crane is as I'm running along the trails. Alright, so it took me about 2.5 minutes to get this thing set up, which isn't too bad. It'll get faster. One thing I noticed though is because this DSLR is so big that this button right here, that knob, whenever I go to tighten it, when I set my level, this actually hits right here on the bottom, and it'll actually push the camera forward a little bit, so it's kind of a pain, but other than that, it's set up pretty nice. So now I'm going to do a little run test. So as you guys can see, when I'm running, it's still a little shaky. I'm gonna throw the warp stabilizer on there now. So take a look and see how that changes. So as you guys can see, it's a pretty big difference when you throw on that warp stabilizer, but still for running, it's still pretty good. There's a little bit of wobble. When I'm walking, it's absolutely level. It's really nice. There's one more thing I want to test before we go back to talking about kind of an overall view, and that's the moving time-lapse. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on lock. It's gonna lock onto one spot, and I'm gonna walk and take photos and see if it'll do a time-lapse. Now with the Nikon D850, it actually creates a 4K time-lapse in camera. I set up the intervals and everything, and I'm gonna show you guys in camera what it comes out and see if I can throw a warp stabilizer on there if it's not working properly, and we'll just see how it goes. Alright guys, welcome back. So, using the lock function on the Zhiyun Crane, when I was trying to do that hyperlapse, it would drift. It would drift about 20 degrees as I was walking. It would just slowly start to drift. So what I ended up doing was just going with the pan follow and just keeping my eyes right on the center of the lens and making sure I was just steady on that center point. It actually turned out not too bad. Obviously with the warp stabilizer, it's even better. So I don't know if that was something that I did wrong. I don't think so, because all it is you put it in lock and you walk with it. So I've seen videos where people did that and it looked fantastic, but for some reason it drifted on me. So I ended up just doing the pan follow. Other than that, I absolutely love this thing. It's great. Obviously limited with the Nikon. I will be getting the Sony a7 III. I pre-ordered it, so I believe shipping will be April 10th. As soon as that a7 III comes in, I'm going to be putting it through, you know, all kinds of stuff, video, photo, low light. I'm going to go through everything with it, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we're using it with this. I love it. I'm going to keep using it. The video is great. It's steady. It's everything you want in a gimbal, especially for me being a first time ever using a gimbal. I've used it on the GoPro. I have the Karma grip, which it works fine, but nothing like this where you got to actually balance it. It doesn't take much to balance it. You just got to remember to get your settings or get your camera where it needs to be when you're going to shoot. So if you see right here, it's balanced now. I'm at 24 millimeters on a Tamron 24-70, but as soon as you start to, I have a lens that, here's locked. So I have a lens that when you change the focal length, it comes out like this. Well, when you do that, it becomes unstabilized. So you have to, if you want to change the focal length, you have to actually come down here and rebalance it, or else your motors are going to work harder. And also if you have any filters, even a filter, I had that 6-stop ND filter when I was running this morning, and as soon as I put that on, it actually changes it. So you got to make sure you have your filter on, you got to make sure you have your focal length that you want done before you balance it, or whenever you do change something, you got to rebalance it. So not a big deal. Like I said, it takes me right now about 2 minutes to balance it. But you know, people that can do it under 60 seconds or whatever, so it's really not that big a deal. You just set it down. Luckily, it's got the tripod on it, which makes it really nice. As far as this goes, when I was doing the hyperlapse, I think this will work out just great. That way, I can just keep it focused right, you know, and be able to hold it with 2 hands. Because holding it with 1 hand, I had it. I actually shot it for 5 minutes. I was walking for 5 minutes during that hyperlapse, and it was shooting at a ½ second shutter speed, and it was taking a shot every 2 seconds. And holding it up for 5 minutes is it's a bit tiring. Even for me, like I got pretty tired. You know, my arms were getting pretty it was starting to burn pretty good as getting towards the end there. I actually rested on my hip as I was walking, so it could have caused a little bit of that shutter movement, or a little bit of the bouncing. But using this, I think, would probably be the only reason why I would use this, would be for maybe those hyperlapses, those moving time lapses, you know, when you're walking. Just because when you're using this, even with the remote that comes with it, there's a, I got it on the charger, there's a remote that comes with it. You can kind of, you know, turn it on and off from here. But if I want to change anything on the camera, I got to set it down. Where this, if I want to change a setting, I can actually hold it and, you know, change the focus on it, or I can mess with something on here. I can change the shutter speed. So if not, then I have to set this down, because actually, unless you got somebody with a, you know, somebody else with you, or have a third arm, you really can't do much with it. So if you're not going to touch any of the settings, this is great. Other than that, I highly recommend it, especially for a first timer. If you have a heavy camera, the 2 works great. If you have a mirrorless, then maybe the V2 might work, or the Plus. I'm not really sure. But just remember, it's the Zhiyun Crane 2 that holds up to 7 pounds. Not the V2, but the actual, just the Zhiyun Crane 2. And one other thing, that I almost returned this just because I couldn't figure out what was going on. So when I first set this up, I had it all balanced, and when I turned it on, it had a really bad vibration. It was sitting here just vibrating like this. And whenever I would move the camera, it would stop. But whenever I would, you know, bring the camera down, or the crane down, it would start vibrating again. It would give me real shaky footage. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I thought I was going to have to return it. But it turns out to be you have to go under the app. It's called Zhiyun Assistant. There's 2 different apps you can get, and get both of them. Zhiyun Play, and the other one, I have an Apple, so it was on the iOS App Store. And what happened was it was set, the strength was set to weak. And if you have a heavy camera, it has weak, medium, and strong. So I think if you don't have it set properly, then your camera could vibrate like that. So I set it to strong, completely stopped it. Everything works out perfect. I'm super happy with it. If you have a light mirrorless, maybe put it on weak, 'cause if it's on strong, it'll do the same thing from what I've seen on other videos. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really like it. One thing I did do, obviously, too, is it comes with a lens support that goes right on the front here. I just took it off because the thing's pretty much useless. It just got in the way. I didn't like it, so I just went ahead and took that off. So if you guys want to see the A7 III review, and I'm going to also use it with the Zhiyun Crane, hit that subscribe button. That way you guys can see it when it comes out here in about a month. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up button, and I will see you on the next one.